Let's see. Okay. Okay, I think we can go. We can go live.
Let's go.
Okay. What episode is it today? 37?
Yeah.
Wow, 37. Fantastic.
Hey guys,
Oh, wow.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to episode 37 of the Webcomics Hubcast. I'm your biggest host, Nen, with my smallest host, Kyaa. Say hi, Kaz.
Hi, I'm smallest host Kaz, and
dear God.
See, Ned, if you do crap like that, I'm gonna do crap like that too.
Oh no! Oh dear God! I am broken I'm broken internally as a person, but it's okay. We're here. We're where we are, and we're joined today by a good friend, one of the people we mention a lot, and the man that was stolen from me by Kaz, Carillus. Say hi, Kaz.
Hello, everybody.
Oh my God! Please.
Yeah, so for those of you who have not been with us since the show was released, Carlos was actually with us on this show
Oh
about
God!
almost 2-ish years ago as well. That was
Yeah.
back when we had a different like host lineup, it's a different format as well. So
Yeah.
and like Exco had just been about maybe about half a year-ish at most in age. So
Also,
yeah,
that video is gone, and none of you will ever find it. I think I privated it. I'm not sure. I was looking through old
Dang.
videos, and I was watching them, and then because I tried to watch the old ones, and I had a cringe moment, and I just privated like one, but I don't know which one it was.
Okay, Nen having a bit of a crisis moment, but yeah.
Yes.
So this is sort of like I think this is the first time we brought someone back on who was a guest previously. So
Yeah.
and in true fashion, it was just like, oh, let's have a chill one. Hey, let's just bring you back on. There's no like bells and whistles promotion compared to last time.
Man, but I'm sad if you privated the old one because I drew the hedgehog on that one just for the cast.
That's what I said. I don't think I don't know which one I privated. I privated one of them.
Yeah.
It might have been
Yeah,
second. It might have been second. I'm not sure.
he drew the hedgehog. He was really proud of it. I thought it was really cute. We actually went on to use it in one of the books as well.
Yeah, it was a good hedgehog. I do like it. I think that's the one. That's the one I got. The book.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
I
no,
think.
yeah,
It was.
It was an older book.
Was it?
It was the Omake. So.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I think Dan got one of the Omakes, so I can't remember if I gave it to him.
He gave me
maybe
2 or 3 things. So I think it might have been in there. I know I have the books still on my set of books. I've been rereading all the webcomic books I've got in the house lately. That's been a thing. I've been looking at like print and like pages. Yeah, it's just what I've done. What I've done since I've been stuck inside. Anyway.
Fantastic. Yeah, but well, you can see that my hedgehog has evolved from then. It's a lot better now.
this hedgehog, this hedgehog here, like for people who don't understand the context, see, Curry's nickname on Picardo back when he used to stream on Picardo was actually Sonic because he draws relatively quickly compared to a lot of other people. So everyone's like, Sonic, you hedgehog man, you're so fast. So he decided to adopt like the blue hedgehog with racing stripes as his mascot. The racing stripes is to set aside because original character Donut Steal. So and I think this version of the hedgehog you drew, if I'm not wrong, was because I was showing you this Tumblr post about how you can make your smileys creepier by just adding the extra little detail to the eyes.
Oh yes.
Wait, does it even
It is a thing. So
okay.
You start off with the simple 2 dots and a smiley and a smile for smiley face, right?
Yeah.
You just add a little bit of extra detail to the eyes. You just up the creepiness factor. That's why you get the eyes that Curry has in his hedgehog.
Jesus Christ. That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, Curry. That explains so much. Anyway, Curry. All right.
Yes.
So people who don't remember, and also just because I wanted to ask anyway. So you've been making Exco now what, like about 2.5 years?
2.5 years, yes.
2.5 years. And I guess the question is, compared to last time, because I do remember the last podcast. How do you feel about where Exco is now? Because like last time there was a whole conversation about how it's not been on for a while and things like that. How do you feel about where it is now? How about where it is story wise, creatively, that kind of thing?
Okay, so what has changed between then and now is that I've got a fantastic co-creator now who is your fellow host, and
I upgraded from editor to that.
Yeah.
and so we've been working on the story together. We've got a bit of external help as well, and we've kind of pared down, or rather instead of pared down, we kind of targeted the story, so we now know exactly how it'll end, and
Okay.
what steps we have to take to get there, and how to resolve all of the plot points that we've raised ever since the start of the story.
That sounds like a nightmarish undertaking. Knowing exactly how it'll end and knowing all of that means you have to go back and basically refactor the whole story, just get everything out.
Yeah, and do you want to know how long that like resolution process took? To sit down and write the whole
I'm gonna hyperventilate. Tell me the number.
Yeah, sorry, you want to tell him?
I forgot. You have to do it for me.
Oh my god! Please.
Yeah,
stop
I mean, no.
stressing.
Remember when we sat down, decided and decided, okay, this is what needs to happen, and it all and it all pretty much got resolved.
I mean, we resolved it all roughly within a day, but the process took maybe about a week. Yeah, but we're talking an entire day's worth of writing and brainstorming and everything.
24 plus a week's worth of just like getting it all down into like a physical. That's insane. I can't imagine, because this is what I think about when people say things like, "Oh, I'm gonna redo my story," right? And then I'm just like, this is why I say no, because you're doing your story from where it is. You're not even redoing it. Imagine having to do that all from the beginning, so rethinking old plot points and why they existed, something you wrote like a year ago, and why it's the way it is. And I can't imagine. I don't even look back on like the shoes I bought a year ago fondly. I can't imagine looking back at story points that you brought up a year ago like easily and like knowing exactly what's going on. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, like I remember going through and like, yeah, we haven't brought this character back in a while, and we know which one it is, right? Multiliner SP, bless her.
Yeah,
she was few people.
We have a lot of characters in the story, and so there was a lot of hijinks that we needed to make sure that everyone got their fair share of screen time and to resolve all of the different characters' storylines.
I mean, that's a whole thing and a half. But you're not just doing Exco now, are you?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I am.
Well, I mean, besides what is in the title there, like, yeah, he's since that interview, he has gone professional.
I'm doing it full time now.
One of like 10.
Not 10, maybe about 6.
Jeez.
6
people. One of 6 people. But it's just like a very small number of people that are full time. And how are you loving the full time limelight?
It has its up. It has its downs. Let's see.
The phrase ups and downs.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay. Every time I mean, it gets tiring because it's not everyone who can draw for like 10, 12 hours a day every day of the week. It's a pretty tiring thing to do, and unless you really have a very big passion for comics and art, it's not something that it's easy to do at all. But for me, I compare it to my old job, and that gives me the motivation to continue.
That's fair enough. Honestly, like I really understand on a fundamental level. I've just and also the hours you spend per upload per chapter are insane. Like I think I remember talking to you when you were doing, I think it was in the Internet Explorer finale, the main combat finale, and like you had been you sounded dead. It was like I think it was like the day after or the day before it was uploaded. You sounded dead, and I can't imagine. Like I can't imagine every upload must take like fucking a week of just solid work. Really.
More like a internet.
Right?
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I also some of the work that was stuff I work on is Merryweather's comics. So I did the finale for Internet Explorer. I'm working on Stalker X Stalker, and I do the main comic Fox Calls Are Better. That's my main work with Merryweather. So yes, the Internet Explorer finale did take me 1 month. In fact, both of the chapters took me a month. Yeah.
Uh,
So in total, each chapter took about 110 hours approximately.
my soul,
Ooh.
my
Mhm.
internal,
So
my
each
internal organs.
yeah, it's a long process because one panel takes about an hour or so to finish. So if you count it that way, it's 110 hours. Because I don't do small panels.
Yeah, you
Plus,
do not.
this
Yeah.
was an action like packed finale. Like both chapters were action packed. Like so,
Oh.
those scenes tend to take longer to do rather than say the static like pretty waifu or husbando like face close up. So
Yeah, and also the thick explosion clouds, as I like to say. Oh yeah, I'm in it for the explosions. I'm in it for the boom boom. So-
Yeah.
oh
Lube.
jeez, a lot of action comics don't. Actually, considering you're basically mainly an action writer, an action artist. Action comics don't come up very often. When was the last time you looked at one and was like fully like, oh, this is the second coming of like some great artist from beyond the horizon in terms of action art? Because I haven't seen a lot of good action art in a while.
I'll be honest, the only good ones I've seen in Webtoon format are the Korean ones, and those are the
Yeah.
ones that have like a staff of like 5 people. So
Yeah,
I'm talking mainly Solo Leveling is
oh
really
damn,
good.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and what's the other one? The I forgot the one, that comic, the guy who got, oh shit, let me try and find the name of that one. It's the one where he got stuck leveling up on hellhounds for like 100 years or
hardcore
something.
leveling warrior? No.
No, it's
No,
not
not
hardcore
that
level.
one.
But like,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. That's, I mean, if it's only, but they have a full team. They have like everything, and you're just you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many people help you when you're making these action scenes?
One. No. Action scenes.
Yeah,
I have one colorist, and I do
yeah.
the rest.
Wait, that means explosions too and everything, right? Like, you basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the
All the
colorist
lines.
does only character work.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Wait.
because I can't find. I don't know anyone who is capable of doing the effects. Effects are actually really hard to find
Mm.
someone who's able to do it.
Effects are difficult.
Because
Unless you train someone up,
yes.
but that takes time as well.
Yeah, that takes a lot of time, and I'm not convinced that I can train people well enough in effect sequences, because it's a lot of it has to do with instinctive, like where to place your action lines, what sort of cloud effects or something like that, wind, and
Effect-
it's all very
Mm.
iffy and like, yeah.
Effects generally, I think I find rather interesting. I don't. I never. I one of those people who talks a lot about diegetic effects. I think we've had this conversation once. Diegetic
Diegetic
effects.
Mhm.
So like a diegetic thing is something that like it's like a thing that might be used to convey information to the audience, but it exists within the actual world of the story. If you're thinking
Yeah.
of, yeah, if for someone who doesn't know, like an example, think of like Dead Space and how Isaac Clarke's health bar is literally on his back in the game, in the real world, and people can like tell
Yeah, I
he's not
remember that
okay.
one.
Yeah, and we were talking about like diegetic sound, about diegetic effects and stuff, and it was like how, okay, so now right now you don't put in a lot of like diegetic, like like boom or things like that sound effect. How bad would it, how much extra work do you think it would add if you had to add a bunch of diegesis just to all of your work? Every sound effect, every like thing has to like kind of exist in the world. How much work do you think that would add? And how
Wait,
good
you mean for me?
yeah, and do you think that's a good idea, like to go full on that kind of thing?
I do add a lot of sound effects to my work though, and any
Yeah.
more than what I've added, I feel is too much, because
Hmm.
you don't want too much sound to be in the work, because primarily it's a visual medium,
Yeah,
to allow people to read, and diegetic effects are just to give context to larger moments. And
Yeah.
if you intend of like on like putting every sound into the work, which I can understand, maybe you can hear ticking in the background or cars driving and all that kind of thing. That is an entirely different medium of comic altogether, in my opinion.
That's fair enough. I see you. I see you.
Mhm.
I mean, I think we should ask about like what's one of the hardest things to do in an action comic. Like, some people say it's I mean the composition of the scene and all that. So I don't know. What do you think?
Some of the hardest things to do in an action comic.
Mm. That you
It's
notice
mainly,
that you notice people fluff out or whatever.
well, the problem with action is that you need to have a very good grasp of perspective, anatomy, and your basics, the fundamentals.
You're not gonna tell
And
me
a
that
lot
it's
of
like human body
Sorry?
drawing.
No.
You're not gonna be like it's human body drawings that people are messing up. Like, eh,
No, it's that. It's in fact okay. It's all the basics that people are messing up because in order to do good action, you need to be comfortable enough drawing the human body and exaggerating it in certain aspects. So like changing up perspective, drawing things bigger than they have to be. That's a skill that is not emphasized enough, especially in comic making. That's what happens when you have illustrators who come and make comics, and they are trying to draw everything according to like proper proportion, proper anatomy, and
Ooh,
making sure
yes.
everything's correct. And that's not how you're supposed to do a comic, unfortunately. Yeah,
Okay.
because what happens is that results in your drawings looking very stiff, which is the main problem with a lot of people who try and do action. Is that a lot of the scenes or the character poses look very stiff because that's you're trying to recreate the look of the pose and not creating the nature of the pose. You
Okay,
want
I
the
see.
energy, and in order to have that energy, you need to really emphasize and exaggerate certain things.
Okay.
Yeah, but
This
at the same time, also
Mm.
you can't like exaggerate certain things without knowing like which kinds of things you should not exaggerate because they will break, which is where the anatomy study also comes in as well. So
that makes
yeah.
sense. That makes sense. I get this. Okay,
Yeah.
actually, since we're still here on the terms of action and how to make an action scene, the controversial question comes forth: sideways panels.
Whoa.
All right.
I know what I feel about them, but
I'm gonna
let's
just
talk about it.
contextualize this question a little bit. I don't like sideways panels. I've never liked sideways panels. But every so often I read a Korean webtoon or just really a webtoon, but regularly a Korean one and this action focus that has a sideways panel. Like once every like 50 chapters it has one. And then it makes me question whether or not my dislike of sideways panels is justified anymore. It's just once, and then it kind of gets under your skin, into your brain. And I want to know how you feel. Sideways panels. Are they the second
Okay.
coming of Jesus Christ? Or bullshit?
Okay, so I did experiment with sideways panels a couple of times, and so far what I think is that they do nothing for the experience. They take
Okay.
away, in fact, from the experience because just the act of having to rotate your phone, there's no comfortable way of making people do that unconsciously. And if you have to indicate to them, hey, turn your phone to read this, it's not great. You don't want to. I feel that doesn't work properly. So I'm a big believer now in vertical panels, like making them really long. And there is a way to arrange your panel so that you can get that height
Yeah.
and get the same effect as a long sideways panel.
He's done it
Yeah.
for Internet Explorer, the first one, where if you guys have seen the finale where Chrome
Mhm.
is there's a lot of like wires and all, chasing after it in Microsoft Edge. That's one example of like really like effective
I know you
not
like-
I have-
sideways panel.
Yeah, I have also done it in Xco.
Yep.
I have a panel where it's a pan. It's a vertical pan. So we go from a regular shot into a upside down shot, and we just pan downwards across the ground. So that's another option as well to replace the sideways panel.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Which one is this
Yeah.
again? Like you see, I see. We've done so many Xcode chapters. I've forgotten this particular one.
Yeah, I need to find it as well. I can't remember myself. I'm not really very good at remembering these things.
Okay, no, I see.
Let me hold on. Let me just give it. Yeah.
I think like the main thing that made me question it was in one of the last solo leveling chapters. And this just sounds like I'm just talking about a comic. One of the last solo leveling chapters, he is trying to show like the scale of his battle, right? It's got like hundreds of people on either side, and like he wants to show how big the battle is. So he literally drops in like the sideways panel at the end, and it's like huge. And it didn't feel like a sideways panel, mostly because I didn't even feel like I had to turn my phone. But I don't think you can really recreate that effect very easily for most people, for most things, really. It was just, it was like,
yeah.
so many things.
Yeah. So sideways panels can
this one.
work if yes, that one. Sideways panels can work if you are a godly artist, to be honest. But well, I
So
mean, you have
basically,
to.
It can only work if you're
Yeah.
Korean.
Oh damn, the Korean
Wow.
part.
But yeah, no, there is a lot to account for in making sure that a sideways panel feels feels correct.
Yeah.
Because as long as you don't have to rotate the phone to get the context, it's enough. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that silhouettes are very strong. You need to make sure that the action is, the direction of flow of the panel is very obvious.
Yeah.
It can be done, but that being sideways will take away from the effect. It's better to leave people standing up, if you get my point.
Yeah, I get your point. I get where you're going.
If only there was something, right, where you you could naturally let them to lead them to instinctively rotate their phone just to see the thing, but then that's not really that's not really doable, is it? I like what you did actually. Now that I think about it, this panel that is not sideways panel, but you can see the action flowing.
I will emphasize again that this panel sequence, right? The idea for this panel came from the series 4-Cut Hero, which is a Legend series, and a very old, it was around I think 3-4 years ago, and it has been a constant source of experimentation.
What's the name again?
Sorry,
name again?
4-Cut Hero.
4-Cut?
Yes, 4 FCUT HERO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh.
Gojira-kun.
You know what?
What?
I kind of see some of the aesthetic. They're similarities.
But yes, this person experimented a lot with the panels, which I really liked, and the comic's really funny to boot. So
it looks
yeah, it does.
You don't get a lot of those. You don't get a lot of stuff. But anyway, we talked about action. We talked about action. That's lovely. I want to ask about what you're doing right now. So, Webtoon contest is going on as we speak. I don't know why I looked at my hand like there was a watch there. Webtoon contest
as if you wrote some talking points on it, yeah.
Webtoon contest is going on as we speak, right? I think you just put your entry in today. Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And I guess my general question is, how are you feeling about the contest? So, I know a lot of people didn't like the last one. The last one was not everyone's favorite. And when we got to the end, the last couple of minutes, the last couple of hours, I don't think everyone was into the last contest. But we're in this short story one. How do you feel about it? The format, how everything's set up? How's that making you feel?
Hold up. Have you changed your title on the YouTube cast?
Yeah, it should have changed. It should have updated.
Okay.
Watch it not do that.
Yeah, because someone's commenting on human.
No, it's updated. It's straight. It's updated.
All right. Okay. Right. So your question again was, how do I feel about the current contest, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Current contest wise, it's good. I like it. I like the fact that it's a short story. I like the fact that audience participation only takes 30%. So it gives a lot of weight to the creators who are just coming on board.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry as much as they did before about popularity. And the short story format makes. I think it was. And the short story format makes people have a proper end in mind. Right? It kind of weeds out those who can't finish their stories. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah. So I do like it. It makes sure that the people who are joining and not trying to play the system. I don't know why you would do that. It's people judging your comic, not a computer. But yeah, so it is a lot better. I do feel it's better than the previous ones in this respect. So it allows new creators who might be intimidated by the aspect of an entire series, kind of get their feet wet.
It gives a lot of open room to experiment as well. I think that's what a lot of people I know are doing. Experimenting with new ideas, new storytelling. And your experiment, I think yours is also an experiment. What's it called? What's your story again?
Grandma's cake recipe.
Fun.
Nom nom.
What is the premise?
What is the premise? Yes, the synopsis reads a retelling of Red Riding Hood, where the words sometimes rhyme as they should.
Oh my god! Did you sit down and think?
Sorry?
I love how he just took a second to get that all together.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was gonna go for it's about blah blah blah, and then he actually went and he reread the rhyme synopsis that was written. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud. I'm so proud.
Yes, that's Kya's product.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Full disclosure. I mean, because some people who are familiar with the show know that Carlos and I have been working together for a while, like especially in Exco, like and also on some Merryweather stuff as well. So grandma's cake recipe, and this is why I've also like been sort of like hanging back a little bit. I've not been saying too much about it. So we decided to throw our hat in the ring for the contest quite a while ago. Except I wasn't saying so much about it personally because Kaz is a bit of a pussycat. In terms of like
Okay.
being really scared to put like a bit more work out there because and Nen mentioned something about experimentation, which did happen in this one because one of the main things that we were experimenting on is the the writing and script that went with it. So yeah. I mean, I feel like I should explain, but at the same time, I don't really want to take away from the guest. So, as to
Yeah, I
like
mean,
what we did
it's
differently.
it's best. It's very hard to explain because the experimentation for this one is not entirely in the story. It's also to do with how the story is told.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
at heart, I would say the story is pretty simple. Okay, you know what? I say that about a lot of the stories I write. They're all pretty simple to me.
It's
Right?
just
Because but
execution, really.
yes, it's mainly the execution of the story that we are experimenting with, and that's why it falls under brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Enough.
I think I mean the one thing that we put in there, and this is I think is something that we don't really see in a lot of webtoons, to be honest, because yeah, I mean, without trying to sound like really like much of like a detractor, because now that I've actually been participating in this, I have to be very careful about what I say for fear of sounding like I'm shitting on everyone else. Oh no,
Oh
Kaz.
no.
Oh no. Without trying to sound like a detractor, on Webtoon in general, we don't really see a lot of like a lot of play in terms of like the word the words that are being used.
Okay,
Not
now I
so
see
much.
you. There's not a lot of play with
There,
dialogue. There's not a lot of play with like visually as well.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
yeah.
homogenous because everyone's seen a Korean webtoon and they want to just make that pretty much.
Yeah.
Like dialogue looks and sounds very samey across a lot of webtoons. So the delivery of this one, which is I mean, we threw it out there. Like I can't even remember why we decided to like go into uh I mean twisted fairy tales. Like I mean, Kari, do you remember why we even chose that idea to begin with?
What, twisted fairy tales?
Yeah, the twisted one.
Because yes, we were discussing the story, like how what sort of story we should write, and the guy who was helping us out, he was asking us. He said, "Hey, like he was trying to get Kaz to come up with an idea, and he was like, think of something, anything, how even a recipe, write something out now." And then I was like, "Huh, a recipe? Let's do a story about a recipe." And what's the first recipe I think of? Hey, it's grandma's cake. For whatever
And
reason, I thought
I
of that
think was
first.
I the one who said oh in before the recipe is like written as a rhyme or limerick or something.
Possibly, yes.
I was the one, and eventually I just shot myself in the foot by giving myself the challenge to do that. So I had
Because
to write the
she
whole
writes all of
story.
the rhymes.
Sure, it's all the
Yes, yes. So I mean, the concept of the story, like what could happen, and what the the setting and all that was pretty much Kari's idea, and then he threw in like what if this, what if that, what if this, for whole plot points, and I took them and I went and sifted through and I went, yeah. So if you're going based on this concept, that doesn't make sense. So I pretty much like ironed it out for him,
Mm.
and then we finalized like something that we're happy with. Well, although like that one is a work in progress because sometimes that I also go like, will people get it? Will people get it? And then I then just give the added layer of polish by turning it into rhymy limerick. And this is a very back and forth process because the limerick has rhythm, and you do not want to like spoil the rhythm in any way, so the visuals that go with it also have to like follow a set tempo as well.
Okay.
hmm If you'll see the
So
text in the comic, if you have seen the comic,
Yeah,
the
I have.
text in the comic is spaced out at very regular intervals, and that is
Okay.
on purpose. Yes, it's in order to maintain that pace of that rhyming pace that you need.
See, this is
Mhm.
this is interesting. It's nice to see some people doing things differently. I've been going through the contest entries. I think I've gone through about like all the pages of all the entries. but I've
Oh,
seen.
there's 1,700 of them. Holy
I
shit.
don't have any.
Oh.
It's quarantine.
Bless you, Nan.
Literally the first.
Quarantine got you.
I know. The first day, I literally organized it by date, and then I went through every entry from the first day, and then the next day. So because it's by date, I can always go until I hit the date I already hit before start again. So I've looked at. I think I've looked at all the thumbnails for all the entries. I've read maybe 12% of all the entries.
Oh gosh.
Basically, if a thumbnail didn't make me want to read it, I never read it. And
Oh, what do you think of our thumbnail?
I liked. To be fair, I got this DM'd to me, so I didn't get to look at the thumbnail directly. But I did. But I do like the thumbnail because it's an adorable, cute waifu, and that's what I'm in it for. Girls, cute waifus, and girls with guns. I'm not a complicated man. I see cute girl, I click thumbnail. It's not difficult.
Then you see gun, you keep scrolling.
Exactly. I am simple, man.
I don't know. Is it
Hey,
worth putting a little bit of it up on the screen as well, like just the very top part of it?
If you
Just so that people see
like
what's up.
I'd like to ask the audience, what do you think of our thumbnail? Does it stand out to you? Because I would like to go a little bit into it as well, but I do want to know what people think of it.
That's fair.
Because in developing that thumbnail, there is a thought process that goes into it as well. I did not just randomly crop a scene from my image or anything like that.
That's what most people do. But you did not randomly crop a scene from the end. I like the picture. I think it's I just think it's cute. I think it's a blue-eyed girl with a red hood. She looks like she's about to do something. But you're saying there's more to this? There's later?
Yes. Okay. So for context, this icon. Okay. So now we are going into structure of webcomics and how to arrange them for optimum viewership. I don't know. But okay, so for this icon, this image that I made for the entire image, including the house and everything, it was made based on the concept that I had for this icon.
Okay.
Which is that I would have a headshot that would occupy 2/3 of the square, right?
Wow.
And the mix of colors in there. Yes, it is technical. The mix of colors in there would have a contrast between warms and cools, which is why there's a blue background. And I actually bumped up the blue for the icon. So,
I'm not gonna lie. And then so you use the red as the attractor, and then the blue to make sure it doesn't it's not obscenely in your face.
No, it's the contrast between the red and the blue that is meant to catch the eye. Because they are two opposing colors, and they will pull attention.
Okay, that's cool.
And yes, and this is based on yes, it's based on gacha games. If you've seen the icons that gacha games have,
this makes sense. Oh my god.
Kari is gacha trash.
Kari and I had a wonderful discussion the other day about gacha and how many layers of gacha that people engage in. And I could see it. I like this now. I like this a lot more than I thought now that I know the gacha information. So basically, you just use you use the basic premise of how video games make you spend money to figure out how to make a thumbnail.
Yes, not spend money, but to make you click on the icon.
That's fair enough. That's actually a good. You see, I don't think anyone really thinks about their icons at all. It's not even something. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't think about them because I always go, well, most people don't even pay attention. They just read them. But I'm realizing that that's probably not true. Because that's all you see. That and the name. You must pay attention to the thumbnail to at least a good degree.
Yes.
Damn. That's literally how I chose all the comics I read. Why am I being surprised by thumbnails?
Thumbnail psychology, man.
Everything psychology.
How do you feel about So while I was going through the thumbnails of the contest, and it came up, I realized when I looked at your art. So I know your art and your thumbnail is representative of your work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If somebody, let's say I was an amateur artist, I just wanted to make some work, and I wanted to make the thumbnail for my comic. Would you suggest to me to make that thumbnail better than the comics art? Because that happened to me a couple of times where I would find a thumbnail and it looks like amazing, and then I open the actual comic, and it almost looks entirely made by someone else. You know, like I
Yes,
felt
you
like
have to.
you have to.
You have to, because you want to get people in the front door. That's
Yeah.
the important thing.
Okay.
So, you make sure the outside of your house and the front of your door looks amazing. It doesn't matter what the inside looks like, because once they pass the threshold, you've at least got them inside the house.
Once they're inside the house, they can't leave.
But
Well,
you
no,
have
they
to make
can.
sure they
They
don't
can.
want to leave.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Yeah, the problem is getting them in the door, not stopping them from leaving.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess it's because I felt, I don't know. This is like this is the argument I still have when I look at variant covers of comics.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have this problem too. I read it because I'm one of those people who sets expectations using a thumbnail. So I would look at the thumbnail and I go, oh, so this is what I should expect when I open the work. And then I look, like, when I'm reading a comic and I'm seeing a variant cover that's different from the art, I look at it and I go, that looks awesome. I hope that's what's in it. And then I open it and it's just someone else's art. And, and that just kind of throws
Yeah.
me.
But can you imagine all of the work that you've skipped over because the cover was a bad crop?
Yes, you know what? You're not wrong.
Actually,
Yes. So
I've
you want to
skipped over
avoid
a
that.
lot. I've skipped over a lot of the webtoons just because I've been browsing like sometimes on new uploads. I'm like, I don't like the cover. I don't like the cover. I don't like the cover. I mean, don't judge a book by its cover, true. But I mean, I could be missing out on a lot of good stories that way. But he is not wrong about the problem trying to get people in the house.
Yeah. So think about it. You have 1,500, 1,700 short story entries,
Yeah.
and you want people to read your comic. How are you going to do that? Okay, so if you sort the comics by popularity, right, and you
Yeah.
look at the thumbnails that the top comics have used, do you see a common point between all of them?
Yeah, I do see your point. They all have. Why would it let me sort by popularity? They all have like a nice, like either a soft or a very hard contrast between the character and the background. That
Mhm.
makes it super obvious, and some of them even go through the trouble of putting outlines to make everything stand
Yep.
out more. So yeah, it's all about. Okay, no, I see you. I see you. Apart from like one, they all pretty much follow this trend.
Yep.
Why haven't I
But
thought
of
about
course,
that?
that's one of the important things. But you
Yeah.
also need to make sure that your story is good, of course, and that the art of the actual comic is good as well.
Okay, fair enough. I guess this question is more for Kaz, but like if you want to answer for her, Kari, that's cool. How have you felt making things within the constraints of the webtoon themes? Because I find the themes to be rather, I don't know, like so vague that anything could go into any of them. Like, how much is enough for heart?
I mean, when you say you kind of need to make it like a little bit broad as well, because otherwise you kind of end up alienating what could have been a lot of potentially good short stories. It's just that sorry, just one moment. There's stuff going on in the background.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'll take over for a bit. So, what, in my opinion, for the having such vague categories is a good thing, because it lets people experiment with different types of stories. For example, if you're talking about a heartwarming story, what counts as a heartwarming story? Maybe a story about a grandma who is on her deathbed, and her son comes to visit her for the first time in 20 years. That's a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
You can have something about a dog, that's been lost from its owner and it's trying to find its way back home. That's Lassie, and it's also a heartwarming story. So there's so many different things you can do for just one category, and the same thing for brain. Right? They say mind bending. What counts as mind bending? Your structure can be mind bending. Your narrative can be mind bending, or you can have all of them at once. And it's I like the fact that it's so broad. People may say that it's too broad, I can't come up with a good story, but that just means that you need to think in a wider perspective.
I guess because I found it to be so broad that I found myself thinking like, what doesn't fit? So like I was looking at like the mere concept of heart and brain, and I was just like, if a couple kiss in the third chapter of my comic, is that heart? Like, like if for like 5 minutes my characters are playing shogi, is that brain? If my characters play shogi the whole time, is it still brain? Like I don't know. Like they call it mind bending. I find shogi mind bending. It's difficult. Like does everyone like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I get into it and I'm just like, how much of this
Yeah.
can I take serious? I'm like, where's the line? Like I'm never
Kaz, you want to
sure.
go ahead?
The line, well, I don't know really. Like at this point, what I was kind of focused on is like, okay, it's not fluffy. That kind of puts in brain. It's it's gonna mean, without trying to spoil it, like it's definitely not like your, aesthetic, like cry feels and like relationships things. So that's not hard. So
Okay.
that was what I thought. That was kind of what I thought.
That's how you went about
Although the other reason like we kind of went for brain is because I kind of hate it to say it, but heart is a very popular category choice for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Yeah. We all want to feel good when we read a story. I'm not even gonna like guilt them. I want to feel good when I read a story. It's easy to write for as well. Not easy, but easier. That's the phrase.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many heart ones. Yes, Salmon. It's easier to write for the heart category, and it's a lot simpler to understand what it's saying. I think the things they gave me as like the things to take off for brain, like the examples they gave for brain, did not help me at all.
I quite like some of them for brain. I was like, oh my god, that's what actually was happening all along. So, but they fit a very narrow definition of brain, however,
Yeah.
because like you then expected to think of, oh my god, I have to do an Inception level like twist and reveal and stuff like that. And
Yeah, everyone's. Go ahead.
No, you were saying
no,
something.
that's about it. No,
No,
that's
it's
about it.
so all the examples I've seen of brain, everyone that I've clicked so far, it's all just like horror mystery, it's like what things going on, and it all looks exactly the same, and that's kind of my issue with the brain category as well. And that right now people are not thinking far enough regarding the brain category. They just think I need to make a thriller, and then like have weird monsters or something like that, and like have jump scares or something. It's weird and kind of meh, and I think there can be so much more that can be done. Like you could write Psychopaths, that would be a
Yeah.
good brain one.
Can we finally get a shogi webtoon? Like, listen, I need some shogi. Okay, all the good shogi manga are gone. I just want a shogi webtoon. It does count as brain, right? Would you count like a mental sport like that as brain? Because of all the I want to know.
Honestly, as if you want to write a comic about shogi, it can fall on the heart as well. Because how much a person wants to win at shogi, it can also be a hard comic. Like
that's true.
I have, that's what sports manga are. They're all hard comics.
They are mostly.
And shogi falls under sport manga, But if you wrote shogi like Death Note, then it's like it's like if you don't win, then you die or something like that. Yeah, sure, that's a brain comic for sure.
The devil's bored. If you don't win the game, he takes your soul.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So Webtoon, when are we going to greenlight it?
Yeah. Shinigami no Shogi. That's what's going to be called. Literally like every other manga.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Yeah, that's an entire concept that's coming together right now. I can pitch it if you want to.
Just need to
see, it's not that hard to come up with like a concept. You just have to like put on a different set of glasses and see if you can view it slightly differently.
Did you know, and I don't know if this is relevant anymore, but I'm just gonna point this out. Did you know that they're doing a contest in Spanish webtoon as well? This exact same contest.
Oh, short story?
Yeah, and it starts it starts when this one ends.
Oh yeah, I heard of that one.
Yeah, same prize pool, everything. And I think they're still doing one in France right now. Let me check. But I think they're still doing one in France, which is a different that one is over. Oh no, it's not. No, it's still there. You can, because the French webtoon is looking for the French webtoon subsidiary is looking for like actual French entries that can be read that will be popular in France. So they're also leaving themselves open to suggestion. Like, oh, come pitch your story to us, and if we like it, we'll put it on and we'll hire you. So like, they're expanding. It's quite and like and the contest idea seems to be something that they're floating around everywhere. I guess where I'm going with this is, you I don't know why you joined Webtoon. Like I don't know why you joined whenever you joined, but was it because of a contest? Like when you came to the website?
No, like
For
Exco
me,
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Exco
yeah,
wasn't because of
Exco,
contest.
yeah, I just started writing it for no reason because I have a friend, Stina, was writing 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her drawing it on Picasso, which I was streaming on at that point in time, and then I said, this looks fun. It's a webcomic. It's like the YouTube. I can put it up whenever I want. And then I looked at myself and I looked at my skills and I was like, hey, I draw pretty fast now. Because in the past, when I
Back
started
then?
drawing, I started with comics as well. Because I had a teacher who drew comics on the side and had them in newspapers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that got me started on drawing comics. But at the time, I really sucked at drawing. But then when I saw, this webcomic thing reminded me of that time, and I realized that I now had the skill level to do comics, and so I started drawing comics.
Okay.
And the best part is, you got an editor to fall right into your lap without having to hire one.
And if you're asking like how I came up with the concept already existed before I started writing the comic, because I do convention circuit, right, and so Echo was part of an original like concept thing that I had going on because at that time the Gijinkas were popular because they were like fake.
What's a Gijinka?
Gijinka is anthropomorphization of non-human characters, and so you've got like the battleship girls and all that kind of thing at that point in time, and and so yeah, I thought to myself, let's make a concept that follows along the lines in which it's taking something that people are familiar with but not entirely familiar with and turning it into concept, into cute girls, because that will work. And the fact that people have pens means that it's easier for them to relate to the idea than perhaps World War II era weaponry.
I mean, I don't know about you, but my battleship in my backyard, I really relate to that. I constantly. This is why I love Carillus. It's just I love it, the fact that they really took the ship that I have parked in my garden and they've put it in an actual story. Wonderful.
Yeah, no, right? So relatable.
It's so relatable. It's great. I always wanted to fucking ride into battle on an anime. No, that sounds wrong. No, don't say that.
But yeah, so there was that concept, and I just took it and I developed it into a comic.
It's fair enough. I mean, like where I'm coming from, though, where I was coming from was more like, because Webtoon's done a couple of these contests over the year, right? There was the comedy one, there's the superhero one, and each time, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, did you experience anything positive happening to your own work because of the contest? And do you think the contest is a really good, effective way of not only attracting like you good new stories, but like also new readers?
Well, I didn't park my work under that category, and honestly, I don't really think so.
Okay.
I think
at the time of the last contest, right? I think Exco wasn't updating that much either because of other reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't even by osmosis, just because like you existed at making work. It didn't even do anything for you.
Well, no, I think the contest won't do anything for the majority of webcomic creators, because remember, there are over, I think right now, there's like 40,000 odd comics on the platform. And the chance that people are going to come to your comic because of a short story contest or contest going on or anything like that is just not going to really happen. You just look at YouTube. Just because YouTube has some big creator on it doesn't mean that other people are going to get like the fall off.
That's true, and I think like even if you want to look at a more startling example, it would be like Mixer getting Ninja. They pulled a really big creator onto their platform, but it didn't really translate to views for anyone else on their platform, at least not by a substantial.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, no, I see you. So like, I mean, because where I was coming from was I was trying to see if how people felt about like whether the contest was bringing them a bunch of positive things. You know, was it introducing new readers to their work? Because in the past like 2 or 3 days, I've met random people on my walks that just know about Webtoon. People who I would never expect to read it. I began to think whether maybe it was the contest's fault. That the contest is attracting new readers. And I was like, if that's what it's doing, that's good. But I'm not even sure if that's true now that you've put it in the way where. But it's one experience. I think it would be good to ask other people. But I see your point. I guess. I was. I mean.
In my opinion, the reason why you're seeing new Webtoons readers is because Webtoons has a lot of money in advertising now.
Yeah, but their advertising is confusing as shit.
Yeah, but it's advertising. It doesn't matter if it's confusing if it's there.
Fair enough, honestly. Yeah, just the mere presence of it is good enough sometimes.
Yeah.
And
also the fact that there's a lot of Korean adaptations of Webtoons.
Oh yeah.
That also helps. If a lot of live action adaptations of Korean Webtoons. We've got the new anime series coming out for Tower of God and God of High School as well.
Wait, that's bringing some new people over, I imagine.
Those will bring a lot of new people because of the quality of that adaptation.
The Tower of God episode 2 and up onward, I've been watching it with friends. Tower of God episode 2 and onwards are actually quite good. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of anime YouTubers have converted their audiences just because they think it's really good.
Yes,
and also
yes,
because it's the first story that isn't like a regular Japanese story that you just got, like, a regular Japanese manga story that you've seen 1,000 times. So it's for a lot of people, it's really interesting to see something like this different.
There are a lot of similarities with that and like some other classic shonen heroes' journeys. It's just that unlike Kirito, Bam is a bit more interesting.
Actually, I would say that people talk about how like you got like edgelord MCs and all that kind of thing in Japanese comics, but no, Korean MCs are like 1,000 times more edgelord than Japanese ones.
I think a lot of them just exist with 8th grader syndrome. Like
yes. People talking about, for example, Ari Furita had a really bad rep for having a edgy MC, and that guy was like, that's like Mr. Rogers compared to like some of the MCs you see from like Solo Leveling and things like that.
Mr.
Solo
Rogers.
Leveling is he's just an edgy boy. That's all he is.
He's so edgy. He's like literally you can cut him just by reading you get cut just by reading the comic.
He's just like, I won't fight. I gotta protect my sister.
Yeah, he never smiles. Have you noticed he never smiles? Holy shit.
Unless he's doing something horrible or he has the upper hand. I can't believe I did. You're right.
Yeah, the only smile he has is a slasher smile.
He's just edgy. He's just an edgy boy. Oh god.
Yeah. But that's what attracts. No, I think that's what. Sorry, Kaz, you were saying?
No, go ahead. That's what attracts people, though, right?
Yeah, that's what attracts people because people just want a nice edgy revenge story or something like that. Maybe they don't want like humor in their revenge flick, and the Japanese keep putting that in.
They keep putting jokes.
Yeah. Well, why do you think they do that?
Scary. Like, I mean, personally, I think it's just because it's terrible. Like, there's a lot. You need to make sure that the audience doesn't hate your character, right? And if they think your character's a legitimate sociopath, maybe they won't like him. Maybe. I'm not even sure.
It's okay to hate a character though, but then there are people who actually know that I hate them, but because that's because they're well written to hate.
I mean, personally, I would say that the difference in characters is due to the nature of society in Japan and Korea.
But okay, I wouldn't fully understand it, but I think I see where you're coming from with it. I think we talked about shonen once. If you're wondering why I keep saying we talked about, is because in the Webcomics Hub Discord, you should find that. We sometimes sit in the voice chat and just talk about random art stuff if people are free and have time. And we were having a conversation, Kare, about shonen. Shonen and what is the Korean version of shonen? Is there a Korean version of shonen?
I don't know if there's a name for it.
Yeah,
but
I have no idea as well.
Okay, what would it be in the what would I call it, like young adult fiction?
Probably
YA.
Good enough. Like in terms
male
of like
YA.
male YA, specifically just male YA. In terms of young, in terms of shonen, like young male YA, like, do you think? Because we were talking about it, we were talking about how like its efficacy and how whether it's still like enjoyable to read because it's targeting such a small narrow audience. Do you think that Webtoon is generating a similar kind of tone where we are only targeting like a very small audience? Because we tend to a lot of work on here tends to be quite YA, you know,
Yes, webtoons in general is targeting female YA.
female YA. Oh, okay.
hmm
So like romance flicks and like just basically shoujo.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and do you capitalize on that personally?
With actually, yes, I do. Not so much with the latest short story, but with Exco, like the reason why there's an inclusion of so many male characters is partly due to the demographic.
Okay. Okay.
Mm. I mean, it sounds very cold and technical and all that.
It's what it is genuinely what it is. If the character,
Yes.
the audiences do prefer to read stuff like that, and it's good to know your
Mhm.
audience. As in, like, because
Yeah.
from the survey we did, I hope, this is not revealing data from the survey that we did that I was running on the side. Found a lot of people didn't feel like their audiences were represented on the platforms they were on, and you think about it, and you're like, maybe it's because they're not targeting that core audience, and you're doing it a little bit, which is good. I think the general trend is just to make a romance story.
Romance sells a lot on Webtoon. It really does.
It really does, and it's quite nice to see. It's quite nice to see. Mostly because all the stuff that I like to read is romance. So
Yeah.
Oh man,
So
you soft boy.
Here's the thing. If you want to do something successful on webtoons, right? In my opinion, right, you either have to do romance, to target that demographic, webtoons main demographic, or you be Merryweather. Yes, and Merryweather has a very specific formula for his work that if you want to, it's a very strong formula, and it's a very short formula in that all of his comics start off as 4-panel humor comics, and then develop into something else, and that's one of the strong points of why Mary's works tend to gain so much traction.
Forcomas are easily shareable.
Yeah,
Yes,
you get into them really easily, and by the time you get to the meaty stuff, you've already been invested into it.
I mean, yeah, I think it's the concept of compression. In video game advertising, we talk about compression a lot. If your video game idea can be compressed into a video that somebody can watch in like 3 to 10 seconds, and they just know what it's about, what your video game's on about, good compression quality. It's a good video game. It will sell a lot probably. And I think in comics it applies too. It's like the compression ability of your story, in that I can just send the Forcoma to someone, and I don't even need to get the story, like the characters or anything. As long as they vaguely understand what's going on, they will find it enjoyable, which is something I don't think a lot of people capitalize on. But what about the fantasy market though? You do fantasy.
Fantasy?
What about the fantasy people? Because they're also a big member of the audience.
Yeah, so he does urban fantasy though, so that needs to
I do urban fantasy. So, well, again, the majority of the webtoons audience is young adult female. So, if you want to do fantasy, I don't want to, because I am okay. The biggest problem here is I am, number one, I am not a young adult, and number two, I am not female. So I can't, easily tell you.
You couldn't.
What kind of?
You could have fooled me with not being a young adult.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, like, just listen to me talk.
Yeah, them jeans, man.
The jeans.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do a floss? I don't know what the kids do. Is it a floss?
Gosh, no. I think that's like you already did.
Back to the fact you're not young adult, you're not female, but then if you want to do fantasy, you have to cater to them, which means
man, you gotta have romance in there. I think at some point,
someone's gotta kiss.
Yeah,
someone's gotta hold
hands. And you kind of don't want to focus too much on the action and the fighting and things like that. Because that's not it's more about the relationships between the characters that you need to look at, and also perhaps societal restrictions on the characters and their motivations.
Yeah.
I think those will be more interesting aspects of fantasy for the webtoons crowd.
That's quite.
Yeah,
So no hard adventuring stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that was what we were talking about sometimes, like when we did school, like, hey, is there too much action? Is there not enough action and stuff? And then but then it's also an urban fantasy, and everyone just like cares about, hey, where's the shipping coming? Where's the shipping coming?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I,
So, do you want to address what Jay is saying in the chat?
What did Jay say? What about romance with hints of BL? No, Jay say that because he's just memeing. I'm helping him with the story. I'm helping him and his writer with the story. And in the story,
is it romance with hints of BL?
Yeah, it's romance, but there's no hints of BL. He drew one scene where a character gets incredibly close to another where two male characters get incredibly close, and he's just been shouting "It's BL" for the past 2 days.
Are they pretty boys? They have to be pretty boys. If they're not pretty boys, it doesn't.
One of them is a bad boy, and one of them is a nerd boy. That's what he's going for. That's what he's drawn.
Oh, that's not bad. Not a bad call at all.
One of them plays. They both play soccer, and it's just that's all he hasn't stopped talking about it. Ignore him.
I mean, Sec is there saying that I'll just join the next contest, seeing how other comics are done. Notice there's a lot to learn. Well, I mean, it's a continuous process.
I think, personally, on a personal level, and this is because, like, I know, like, for a lot of people who are doing comics, for most people who are doing comics, this is what they want to make their end goal. But for people like me and a lot of the people I read who just do this, who like comics because they like it as an expressive medium more than as like I want to build a big audience thing. Which is there's nothing wrong with wanting the big audience. Like don't take this as like a criticism or anything for anybody. But they use this contest to explore a lot of storytelling ideas that are not suitable to the Webtoon audience. Like just at all. Like some of the people I know who I've been looking at, I think I spoke about one last time was Momo Gigi's work, which is relatively like it's more of like a 16 plus 18 plus comic, and it's like that comic is not going to like barrel through the audience and like become a smash hit in like a day. You know what I mean? But it's I don't know. I kind of thing where I like to see people exploring the deeper storytelling, like just different types of storytelling that is just about something they wanted to talk about for a long time, didn't want to use too much time on, using this time for it. I like that you're doing that with the limericks, and I actually really like the limericks, mostly because I could never think of them myself. I failed English. This is not it's not going well for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that I can see more of that. That's genuinely what I think. That's what I've been clicking on. Really, anything that looks experimental and different and new is all I've been clicking on the Webtoon on the contest. Just I look at it, it looks experimental. It looks kind of different from something I've seen anywhere else. I click on it. It clicks, and I think that's what a lot of people should aim for the contest because it's so short. Why give up? You know what I mean?
Yes, I get what you mean, but at the same time, there are a lot of new artists who are coming on. This short story contest is their first time trying out making a comic, and I think that just getting their feet wet, doing a regular comic is also an important thing to do.
That is true. That is true. The number of people that dropped off from the last one and the number of series that have just left incomplete. That was a lot. That was a dark day in Webtoon history.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
A lot of stuff I was reading. I don't know if you were reading a lot of stuff from the contest. I know you barely have time.
Yeah, I'm drawing all the time. I'm literally drawing all the time.
And I'm just wondering, like, anything you're is there okay? You've been making comics a while. You're making comics for money now. You're in the contest. You're relatively experienced as an artist, just in general. What is your piece of advice for how people should take the contest if they're just starting or they're kind of new to the whole comics thing?
Oh man, if you're new to comics, there is a lot for you to learn. Okay, so first things first, is that comics is not an art medium. All right, you got to remember that you're not an artist. Like you're not even if you're an artist, that does not mean that you'll make a good comic. Comics are they occupy the same category as film directors, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to direct a comic, and that means guiding your viewer's eye across multiple panels, making them look where you want them to look, and using a combination of lines, colors, and dialog box placement in order to do that. Panel lines as well, how you separate your panels.
Okay.
Maintaining a consistent panel flow, which means that like seeing how fast people move down and making sure that there aren't too many like locations where they stop too abruptly or they go too fast. You need to maintain that pace throughout, and also yes, remember dialogue and typesetting is part of the practice as well. You need to make sure they look good, and in order to make them look good, it's also a skill.
Yeah.
And a skill that you have to learn. Cinematography, yes, Archangel, that's exactly what it is.
Typesetting is a word that every time someone says it or every time I read it, I hear Kaz's voice in my head. I live like literally. I think somebody sent a message just like, "What do you know anything about typesetting?" And I heard a loud scream in my head, and it was just Kaz's voice.
Yeah, well,
there are a lot of rules to typesetting, right? And you need to go and learn them. And Kaz happens to be pretty good at it. She's taught me everything I need to know about typesetting. And but I don't want to go into it right now because there is a lot to talk about. It is an entire like field that people get paid for to do in comics. So, don't treat it lightly.
Basically, right? And I mean, I've said it many times on the show, but if it's good, you don't 100% notice it because it blends so seamlessly with the comic. If it's bad, you'll know. You'll know.
You'll see.
Unless you've been so like attuned to like bad typesetting for so long that you don't realize it. But yeah.
Yes. So for example, right now, me and Kaz, we are redoing typesetting on Winter Moon, which is one of the featured comics for Merryweather. And if you've checked out the first 100 episodes or so, you'll see that the typesetting has been completely redone, and it really changes the feel of the comic.
Yeah, like literally, go back to Winter Moon, go look at the first episode, and compare that with so season 1 has been completely updated with our work, and season 2 not yet, but we are in the middle of doing it, and like eventually we will catch up, and somehow that's also like spilled over to the actual like artist who has tried to like apply some of the things we do. So
good.
Yes.
Good. One question from Fresh Salmon, since we're nearing on it. Any general tips for newer creators? Any generic?
General tips for newer creators: build an audience, and to do that, you need constant presence. It's not going to happen overnight. You are going to take a very long time to get where you want to be. Don't stop learning, and I mean by learning, I mean learning in every field, which means you need to learn how to market, you need to learn how to draw, you need to learn how all the different aspects of comic, which involves like storyboarding, flow, writing, typesetting, character, dialogue. All of them are separate skills that have to be learned. And a lot of current creators don't learn that, right? Which is why when you read different webtoons, all of them sound the same. You feel like you're reading the same dialogue because people don't practice dialogue, right?
Fair enough.
And,
they also said for typesetting specifically. Anything, Cass? Give them the one typesetting thing you don't want them to mess up.
Don't follow translated manga. That's my biggest tip. Don't follow what you see in translated manga.
Some of them really try hard, but they're working within a lot of constraints. So it's never going to be as good as it could be.
Yeah, so seriously, like I follow actual manga typesetters for those who do the localizations. They do a lot of like stuff like that, and it looks good in the end of it. But they also explicitly say this is not what they would do if they were to typeset from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, Google how to typeset a comic. There's like so many tutorials out there, and it's easy enough to find. And you don't have to copy what you see on translated manga. The reason it looks like that is because manga artists hard code their bubbles into the pages, so they can't redraw the bubbles. Yeah. If typesetters could redraw the bubbles on manga, they'd do it like immediately.
They would even in the circles I'm in, they consistently have like rules so they can work around this, and they try to do redraws if they can. if you want to see like if you've seen a good manga a good scanlated or translated manga that has a redrawer, they probably have slightly better typesetting than everyone else. The redrawers are hard
Yeah.
to get.
One thing that sorry about the dogs. One thing that I've also noticed, right, and I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. Generally, if the typesetting is bad, it also means that the person's dialogue tends to be quite bad too.
Oh god, yeah. Bad typesetting, bad dialogue to go hand in hand, and there's a common thing. If you have an odd idea for a comic, do you think you should still make it? I mean, personally, I think yes, but I think I don't know if you guys will disagree with me on just
I
any
think
odd
yeah,
idea.
it's worth making. I think it's worth making,
Yes.
but not that. But you just don't expect like what? Go on.
I mean, look at what's that comic called, the Toaster one?
Toaster Dude.
Toaster Dude. Oh my god.
Yes.
Dude, I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, if you have an odd idea for a comic, yeah, make it. Sure. You
Yeah.
don't know what the Webtoons market wants. Do you think it's a good idea? If you think it's a good idea, if it's a comic that you would read, then sure, make it.
Like, and not I think a good rule for knowing if you would read something, and this is from how I personally figure out if something I've written like a year ago is still okay, is just like right when you make the story or like the general premise, write it down somewhere, and in a week come back and look at it. If it still sounds sane to you, it's probably okay. Then when you get into writing it, write kind of the story that you want to go along, then give it another week and look at it again. If it still sounds sane, or at least sounds like not like a muddled mess or something you can rework, keep going at it. But don't jump in with like I have an idea and I've drawn 30 panels. Please don't do that. You terrify me. I'm so worried.
Yeah, I mean, I've
You
scrapped
sound
entire
creepy,
comic
huh?
ideas after playing with them. I do like write out. I do panel out, write stories for ideas that I have. Then I come back to them later. I'm like, oh man, this isn't that great, and I'll just throw the whole thing away. So it does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaz, you were gonna ask something?
No, like give me some QBL between inanimate objects, but inanimate objects don't. I was gonna say inanimate objects don't have genders, and I was like, oh yeah, there's French and Spanish. Shoot, they
Yeah,
do have genders.
They do have
Wild.
I
Oh my
want
god,
I finally
yeah.
want my true romance comic to exist between a mug and a table.
I remember that romance comic between two fish, but that was a manga.
I remember remember the Kind of Love anthology. In the anthology, there was the Roomba that was in love with a Google Home or something, or the other way around.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Toaster Dude. I'm gonna say this is just like an offhand comment. I don't know if you guys have all read Toaster Dude. I really like the fact that a shitpost comic is such a big deal. It's just adorable. And do you know how many times you read a comic that essentially its premise was just, this is funny, and I don't even care if anyone else thinks it's funny. And then like, it's doing well for itself. It's good. It's good. I think I'm just happy whenever I see other creators doing really well these days. And that's good to see, especially with the Corona thing.
Yeah, I think one thing that new creators don't realize as much is that a lot of the stories that they think are nice, are like edgy or new, or like don't have existing tropes or things like that. They all have already been done, right?
Yeah.
Just because you change a few names or you have a few like interesting concepts that you've thought of doesn't mean that your story is good. It just means that you have more like, honestly, all of that is kind of, we call it fluff in a way, unless because if it's a novel concept, it's usually already been done, and you're kind of just dressing it up in a different outfit.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you need to focus on how you tell it rather than what you put in the story as a new creator. And this is something that a lot of new creators do that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's right. Like the way you push your story forward is much more important sometimes than what's actually in the story. Like specifically like what the overall plot is. Because I've seen the plot 1,000 times. I think there was yesterday somebody was describing a comic to me. I don't remember what comic. And like my brain immediately like thought of a comic that I've already been reading for the past couple of days. And I said, "Isn't that just this?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, it is exactly that." And it's a lot of the time your key points are like your storytelling medium, how you're doing it, how you're using color, it's a lot more important to focus on those elements than it is like not with sacrificing the other ones, but more like enhance, right?
Yeah, like for example, there's I can't remember who it was. Someone came to me with some like, I have this great novel idea for a comic. What do you think of it? And I was like, yeah, sure, tell me about it. It's gonna be between angels and demons, and they're gonna fight on Earth, and it's gonna be amazing. And I'm like, okay,
Oh, wow.
sure, right? And it's
Isn't
been done.
that the plot of Bleach?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's literally Bleach.
If you think, actually, this is just Dunning-Kruger all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually. The more
Dunning-Kruger, for people who don't know, is like so there's a curve of like relative knowledge, actual knowledge experience versus how much you think you know. So people on the left end of Dunning-Kruger, that's a lot of people. They think they know a little bit, but they assume that they know everything there is to know, which is dangerous. People on the right hand side of Dunning-Kruger, the other problem is that they think that
they know
certain
too
things
little.
that they know, everyone knows.
Yeah.
So
if you teach or you work in computer science or engineering or a lot of things actually, but mostly those three, you do that a lot. You do that thing where you look at your friends and you ask them, you wonder why they don't understand what a AA battery is. The number of times I've done that is too much.
That seems like a rather, oh my gosh, never mind. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Say it.
I can't describe it. It's just, that's sad.
I know. The number of times I've looked at people and just like someone's been like, what batteries is like AAAs? And they're just like, what's a AAA? And I just kind of break down internally as a human being. I cry a little bit inside. I cry the small tear. And then I move on to my life. But yeah, I mean it is Dunning-Kruger more or less. They've read like 6 mangas and they think they know new ideas no one has ever done. Sure,
same goes for me in PC building.
Yeah, it's a good place where that happens. Okay, all right. Let's see, Kari, I have a question for you. What's your favorite piece of station? This is just random because we're ending, and I want to ask you this because I don't want to do the whole voting thing. So I'm going to ask you one question. What's your favorite piece of stationery? Individual stationery, just one. You have to choose one object, one piece of stationery.
By what category? By like looks or functionality, or
I would say give me the one you like and then say why it's your favorite, regardless, including all these things.
Man, that's a difficult question.
Because I know mine, but mine is very specific.
That is a very difficult question. Man.
He's just going through his table. Kaz, what is your favorite piece of station?
Ooh, I don't know. You're asking me, and I have like a bunch of them.
Listen, mine is
I don't
amazing.
have a favorite.
I already have mine. I've been set for you. The laminator.
What is it?
The laminator. Amazing.
Oh,
wow.
Fucking amazing. The single greatest piece of stationery. A laminator. Done. Nothing beats
okay,
a
so
laminator.
for fantastic. That is more of a desktop device rather than stationery, but I'll give that to you.
Thank you.
Right, and so for me it would be, if I'm gonna exclude drawing tablets because that would be my my choice if I could use them. But if we talk about purely analog stationery, it's a toss up between my fountain pen and the Blackwing.
Okay. Why fountain? You have a fountain pen?
Yeah,
they're not that fancy. Some of them are not that fancy.
I'm so used to living in an environment where the only one who has a fountain pen is my father. I don't really understand.
Oh, I gave fountains to my parents as well. So like, I mean, it's a nice cheap fountain, but it's really nice. It's a Pilot Metropolitan, and it's got a nice thin nib that has very smooth ink flow, and it's really fun to write with, right? So I mean, it's a nice pen, and that's why I like it. It looks really nice. Mine's in red as well, so it's like got a nice polished brass red body. And as for the other one, the Blackwing, that's a pencil, and it's just a really sweet looking pencil. If you use it, people are like, "Holy shit!" That's is that a pencil? It looks amazing.
Yeah, this is
People
apparently
going,
this is apparently Kari's reaction to like his first Blackwing.
yeah, it's like it's the Ferrari of pencils. That's what I would say it is. It's beautiful. It's just such a pleasure to look at.
Remember, kids, it doesn't matter what you're into. You can always be an otaku of something.
Alan Key,
But
yes.
yeah, guys, if you have
someone
not
who...
seen a Blackwing, go Google it.
I'm looking at one.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Wait. Okay.
That ferrule is iconic. The squash like rectangular ferrule, the thing that holds the eraser and stuff.
Yeah. And it like has descriptions on the side. Oh my god!
Well, the
Okay,
Blackwing has like evolved over the years, so yeah.
it looks really cool.
Yeah,
It does, doesn't it?
Are we finishing it or are
Yeah,
we
I think
still,
that's for me. Do you have any questions, Cass? Do you have anything left?
Well, I mean, any questions would have been like in private. That sounds so bad. Sounds so bad.
No one else. Anyone in chat got any more questions? Any question? Ask it, because it's a great time for me to know.
That's okay. £30 for maybe like about a box of 12, but they actually last like quite long compared to like the average wood pencil, so it's all right.
Oh, cool.
Usually they're not £30 though.
Someone is hawking a set on Amazon for $77. So
are they probably the old version? So the Blackwing is actually quite legendary. So Eberhard Faber of Faber-Castell, like the name and all that, they produced them ages ago, and the OG one was discontinued eventually by Sanford in the 1990s, and they got brought back in 2010s by Palomino, which is another it's a Californian maker of pencils, but they still have like the nice like cedar and all that, and
this is a
similar recipe.
This is a Palomino.
Yeah, so Palomino. So if you get any of them right now, they will be Palomino. But these days they removed the Palomino branding, so it's just Blackwing on it. So yeah.
Yeah. For reference, the original, the Eberhard Faber Blackwings, you can still buy them. They go for like $230 a piece.
Pencil.
Yeah, because they are like at this point, if you buy any, you're not going to use them. So
yeah, and I was using it. Okay. I don't think anyone's got any questions.
No, I think we're good.
We're good. Okay. I get to do the outro, unless anyone else wants to. Kaz, do you want to do the outro?
Well, thank you so much everyone for joining us on this impromptu episode of the Webcomics Hubcast, and like impromptu session with Carillus. And yeah, so I guess when's the next show? Like maybe about 1-2 weeks from now, depending.
Yeah, 1-2 weeks, depending on what happens this weekend, based on government stuff. So
same over here.
Yeah, if we're cool and everything goes well, we might be able to do next week. If not, might be able to do 2 weeks, depending on what's gonna happen. I'm gonna see about organizing guests and stuff. I'll be for people who. Oh, I'm just gonna say this side note. For people who filled out the questionnaire, the survey, and wanted to know when the results will be coming out, like in a while, but not too long of a while. But I am working on it, just so you know. Okay, Archangel. Anyway, yeah.
Pigs. Oh goodness. But yeah, for people who don't know what we're talking about, on the Webcomics Hub Discord, Nena's been putting out a survey for comic creators, and it's a really interesting one. So help him out. Go fill it out, and yeah, we'll see what the results come of it. Also, we have to thank Carillus for joining us, on relatively impromptu notice.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been very fun being here.
Yeah, it must have been a very different feel from like 2 years ago, 2 years plus ago, when he first did an interview with us. So
yeah, good.
Okay. Yeah.
Now that we've done that, what else?
Check out the comics.
Check out the comics. Check out the Exco and the Grandma's cake recipe. Check out all the comics that are currently in what do you call it, the short story contest as well. Support your local comic makers. They're not really local, but you get my point. Follow Carillus on Twitter at Carillus, at like literally like curry LESS. I don't know how stuffy it was. Literally the word curry and LESS. Follow me at earthbound_m because occasionally I tweet feet pics. Follow Kaz at Catastrophe. That's CAZZA, and then the rest of the word for catastrophe because I can't spell.
Mhm.
And Cowfix, yeah. Follow the Webcomics Hub at Webcomics Hub. Join our Discord. Figure out what you're doing with your money. Give it to me, if you want to. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on follow us on Twitch. I don't think there's anything else. Other than that, I'm pretty much done. That's been good. It's been a good
Yeah.
show. It's been a good show. Thank you so much,
Yeah, I
Kaz.
think
Thank
it
you
was-
so much, Carillus.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you all for like tuning in, and yeah, get in touch if you have anything like to like feedback to us, or like you want to see us cover some stuff. And
Yeah.
see you all.
Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.